Like everyone before me, thank you very much. I am very humbled to be asked to join this, particularly when I discover that you basically have to be saving humanity or the planet to stand up here, which is a bit disturbing about how I'm going to fake that over the next few pages. So who am I? I'm Managing Director and founder of Partners in Performance, which is a consulting firm that really pioneered why don't we stop writing reports and actually implement results for our clients. 500 employees, which by global consulting firm standards is quite small, but having a big impact, firstly in terms of changing that industry, but also on our clients. So we're started off in the resources space, so we're pretty much anywhere around the world that there are resources. So lots of stuff in the Arctic Circle, lots of people having altitude sickness in the Andes, and evacuating people out of various African countries when the military roll in. Although we started in heavy industries, we now work across most industries, both in the private and public sector. I thought I might just talk about my education because I think that journey tells you the space we're in, I think, where we're playing in the technology space. I started off in engineering at Auckland Uni and went to, got scholarships to MIT where I was studying geotechnical engineering. And I was applying, it was the first piece of work I had with the military, I was applying submarine flow theory to driving piles. And I was 4 years, it's 5 years to do a PhD in the States. I was 4 years into that, and I said to my professor, I said, we were working on the Cray computer, which was as much brain space as we could get at the time. I said, we're doing this to a fair level of accuracy. What's the level of accuracy that we apply as a safety factor when driving piles? And for those of you know, those are round numbers with no decimal places, which was where I had my first concern about why I wanted to return to Australia, be paid $30,000 to be an engineer. So I ran away to Oxford and studied organisational behaviour at Oxford. And so that's a sort of second part of my sort of background, I guess, is organisational behaviour, which I found far more interesting in a lot of ways than engineering because there was absolutely no science, and it turns out that humans are completely irrational. I was heading to Stanford with a junior lecturing role, and my partner, who's now my wife, couldn't get a visa. And by chance, a bunch of us had, at Oxford, applied to McKinsey's, which is a consulting firm, because they gave you a free flight home for your final interview. And so I found myself at McKinsey's by mistake, which is the third part of what our business brings, which is the financial and commercial. And so the work that we're doing is a little unusual compared with other consulting firms. It has an enormous behavioural side to it, and understanding how can you actually get organisations to work, how can you change cultures, and because of our technology background, a lot of it ends up being in that space. So the results up there in the middle are our small little companies delivering about 10 billion of EBIT improvements to our clients over 4 years, 40 billion in the capital space and about 2 billion in the sourcing space. And of course, this digital era is just fantastic for us because we're nearly all engineers, and there's a lot of money being spent in the space, mainly wasted. So there's 4 areas, just to give you a sense of it, where we're working at the moment. We work in making processes more efficient. So we're doing a lot of robotic process automation. I saw that this is automating manual tasks that people are doing with a mouse on a computer. I saw my first one of those 4 years ago. I said, how much do they cost? They said at that stage, 30,000 each. I said, get me 2, put them in the back office of my business, and we'll figure out how to make them work. We are now automating banks and large areas of federal government around the world, and it frightens me the number of jobs that are going. I used to tell my children to do STEM roles. About 4 years ago, I went home and said, you should consider live entertainment and professional sports. Because when you think about where this is going, I'm just not sure we can create as many jobs as we need fast enough. And I think that has really disturbing implications for society. We're doing a lot of digital work, digital tools, autonomous sites where no people are there. Oil and gas companies where they used to send people out in utes out into the middle of Queensland is now all being done by drones. All those jobs have gone, and we've been helping people to do that. We do a lot of work in the data analytics, machine learning space, sort of in gold plants, for example, significant reduction in electricity, energy usage through data analytics and helping people to run their ball mills better. We've found terrorists for various governments. We have a cyber business. I have 3- and 4-star generals from the US military that work for me. So there's a lot of stuff in that space that's incredibly interesting. We're using technologies, as I said, we're also doing a lot of work combining technologies. And I think this is the most interesting space, is helping organisations to actually make the stuff work. So there is a large global miner that has over 1,000 people working in the digital space. In 2 years, they haven't delivered a financial impact. It's because they haven't understood the human impact in terms of how you embed this in businesses, and how do I wire up a business, change the org structure, change the capabilities of people so they can manage the robots and the artificial intelligence and so on. So it's a very interesting space for us, is how do we actually make this work in business, and how do we do that in a way that people are brought along in the journey? And that's largely what we're doing. The challenges we see our clients facing where we're working is there's just enormous amounts of very exciting technology coming along, very weak skills in terms of project management in the IT space, the technology in the digital space, in terms of, but how do we actually make this work and stick in the business? Most technology projects start off with large announcements in the media and excitements about the robots or whatever. Very few of them are delivering bottom line results. We're also helping a lot of companies to innovate very quickly. You have to break the corporate culture and be prepared to fail incredibly fast and keep moving at pace, and that's another thing that we're doing. And we also see companies focusing on the tool rather than the outcomes. So people announce that they're doing robotics. People announce that they're doing data analytics. Actually, there's an outcome we're trying to achieve, and that's what we're trying to do, is shift the culture and wire it up so people can do that. And finally, blending that with the human and the technical, which comes back to my sort of original thing. It's blending the three things: the money, the organisation and the people, and the technology. And that's me.